one thing, we're in betting windows. But more important than all of that is to say thank you all for coming. I don't have to tell you what you all contribute through dues or in many other ways is what keeps the whole Friends of Thomas Edison organization moving forward on a regular basis. Hope for a long time. Thank you. Enjoy the evening. So you found refreshments in there. Partake anytime. Now you can take a doggy bag home if you think that will work too. But more importantly, you want to hear me. You want to hear Jerry Fabrice, who he's got a long title, but I think it's something like curator of sound something. Am I close?
Yeah, recordings.
Something, and maybe more. So Jerry,
Okay,
so I guess.
thanks. Good evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to learn some music history that happened right here in West Orange. Some important early recording work that took place just next door. This photo here gives you the context of the laboratory, main lab building. We're in building 11 that would be right here in the courtyard. This is the National Phonograph Company building that used to stand over in that area where Edison's early commercial recording studio was, where he was making recordings in the late 1890s, turn of the century, the real heyday of the wax cylinder. And we want to focus today on one particular artist, John Hazel, who is known as the Cornet Wizard. And our special guest today, I would like to introduce, is Richard Garrick from Atlantic City, bugler, cornetist, and trumpetist.
Well, thank you very kindly, Jerry and everybody. It's certainly a privilege for me to be here and to take part in this living history presentation. I have a privilege to be able to record a solo that was written in 1903 and have recorded on the original instrument that was recorded by John Hazel. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself, and I started off the call to post for a reason. And before I get to that, let me just tell you that I am a professional trumpet player and have been performing around the country. Actually, I do live down in Atlantic City area. I've performed in the casinos, the casino showrooms. I've performed at racetracks. I perform with a band that's out of Norristown, Pennsylvania, called the Verdi Band. And the Verdi Band is a brass band and was formed in 1920 to service the Italian-American community of the Delaware Valley area. Today, we still perform, and it was with that band that I got to perform John Hazel's Le Secret. So I found out during the research of the cornet solo that John Hazel, who was known as the Cornet Wizard, had performed in Atlantic City. So I really wanted to see if I can do a tribute to him since he had some local ties of some sort. And I found out that he was a studio musician of the Edison Phonograph Company. So last year, my lovely wife and I took a trip up here and visited the studio across the way, and I happened to mention that I performed John Hazel's Le Secret with the Verdi Band. And I had contacted Jerry, and here today we're going to record that solo as it was done in 1903 on the wax cylinder. One of the things that I'd like to also talk to you about today is the instrument of the cornet. Before I do that, we have been able to find an original recording of Le Secret. So Jerry's going to be able to play that for us, and we're able to compare what it was like in 1903 and then what's being done today. So Jerry, if you would.
Sure. Yeah, I want to thank a collector. We put out the word that we were looking for this cylinder recording. This is the original Edison record by John Hazel of Le Secret. So I want to thank collector John Chichester, who donated to this donated this cylinder to the park just for this program,
Huh?
so we can hear it today.
You mean you have to give it back?
Cornet solo, a secret polka, played by the composer, Mr. John Hazel, accompanied by the Edison military band.
That was quite wonderful, and it certainly is a challenge to try to play it as well as John Hazel did in 1903. But I accepted that challenge. And I'd like to say that the instrument that was used to record that is the cornet. And a lot of people are not familiar with the cornet because it's not an instrument that you see a lot of today. If you were to go to a Billy Joel concert or Gloria Estefan or Michael Bublé concert, you will not see somebody playing a cornet. In fact, the cornet kind of went out of favor in the 1920s. The cornet was the predominant brass instrument of the soprano family during the 19th century and played a lot of the melodic lines that composers had written. The cornet was invented around 1920 when it was developed from the post horn and valves were added. Now, I started off the presentation by playing for you the call to post, and there's a few reasons I decided to do that. One was my association with the race courses. I mentioned to you that I am a racetrack bugler, and I played up and down the East Coast at the different racetracks from Boston on down to Miami. I've played for the Florida Derby, I've played for the Pennsylvania Derby, the Hamiltonian here at the Meadowlands, and Belmont Stakes. So I've really enjoyed playing the call to post, and I wanted to be able to share that with you. Also, the call to post is something that's always played at the beginning of an event, so why not start off our event tonight with the call to post. But there's another reason that I wanted to play that, because I wanted to demonstrate that the call to post, which is an Army call that's entitled First Call, is played without using any valves at all. And it's based on the overtone series, which is the way the brass instruments are played. And the overtone series, you can play only certain notes by not pressing down any valves. Certain notes like this. Now, what happened in the early 19th century were valves were attached to the instrument, and then you were able to extend the tubing so that you can have multiple overtone series. And eventually what you can do is you can play every note of the musical scale. So the cornet then became a really popular instrument, and the bands around America started using this for their melodic lines. The trumpet was not in the picture other than to play fanfares or to play rhythmic parts of pieces. In fact, Berlioz was one of the first ones to use cornets and trumpets in his compositions in France. So the cornet became really popular, and then composers started to write solos for their bandsmen. And John Hazel became a cornet soloist with the bands that he played, and he also was a composer. So the piece that he performed that you just listened to, The Secret, was based on a simple melody by the composer Gautier. Gautier was a French composer, and at that time, piano teachers would teach their students that simple eighth note phrase, and it became popular. Hazel heard it, and he decided that he was going to write a composition based on that. What the composers of cornet solos played at that time, what the composers of cornet solos did was to take the popular songs and develop them. Songs like Home Sweet Home, Bluebells of Scotland, and there's even a cornet solo based on the Star Spangled Banner. What they would do is they would play cadenzas, and then they would play the melody, then they would develop those melodies. So before I get to record the Secret, I would like to show you the difference between the sound of a trumpet and the sound of a cornet. And my accompanist tonight is Lilia, and we're going to play for you the air from John Hartman's Facilita. I'm going to start off by playing it on trumpet, and then I'm going to switch over to cornet, and you're going to hear the difference of sound. Now the difference is a lot in the design. Of course, the trumpet is flared out from this end to the bell and is known as a cylindrical design, while the cornet, which is smaller, has a conical design, and the flare is much greater. as you can see. And the difference in the tone quality is striking. And you can see why in 1920, when the big bands came into prominence and the rhythm became more important for a brass instrument to play, the trumpet became popular. Also, if you remember back in the early 20s, the Art Deco era came into being, so what fit in more with that Art Deco design, but the long trumpet or the shorter cornet. So it just fit in, and today, again, the trumpet is the predominant instrument that you will see of the brass family, the higher brass family. So I was talking to you a little bit about John Hazel, and John Hazel recorded a few things for the Edison Company. He was involved with a band in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, called the Repaz Band, and was very influential and an important musical contributor to that band and the musical community. So at this point, I think we're ready to record Le Secret. And I had mentioned to you that composers used popular tunes of the day to record, to compose their compositions around. And Gautier, the French composer, composed that piece, Le Secret. And Lilia, could you play the piece that John Hazel heard his students be playing? So that melody was what John Hazel decided to use for this composition. And like many of the cornet solos that were written around that time, he started off with a cadenza. And in fact, what you heard on the recording and what you're going to hear on our recording is a cadenza preceded by a fanfare and then a slow melody, which is very typical of the cornet solos of the period. Then the melody comes into play. The composer then develops that melody and ends with the coda. So what we'd like to do is to play for you the published solo that John Hazel had back at the early 20th century, because this solo that was published is about 4 minutes long, and 4 minutes will not fit on the wax cylinder. So what we're going to have to do after we perform the published piece is to cut that down so that it can fit, or hopefully fit, on the wax cylinder. So we're going to play for you the published version of John Hazel's The Secret. So I think we're almost ready to record, and Jerry has a terrific little presentation that he'd like to show you before I step in front of the cone.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the technology, a few slides to show you. The original recording we heard was John Hazel backed up by a full band. This was the Edison military band. That's a photo of the Edison military band about 1905. And as I mentioned, that cylinder would have been recorded next door in a building that was known as the National Phonograph Building. You see it opens right out onto Main Street, and I think that's so that the recording artist had an easy entry straight from Main Street. I always think it'd be, if I could pick any era to visit the Edison laboratory, it'd be about this era. Right at the turn of the century, you had a recording studio right on Main Street, so you had not only the engineers from the Edison laboratory, you had all these musicians walking down Main Street. You also had the Black Maria still in operation, so you had actors coming. It must have just been a real center of creativity here. That's one of the very few photos that survives of that building. It's kind of a mysterious building. Well, that's just on the right there is the back of Building 1 on Main Street. And you see there used to be houses down on the corner. And our setup today is inspired by this photo. This was the common setup for recording a solo instrument with a piano accompaniment. The soloist would be in front of the horn, and then you'd have the piano up on a riser close behind. And the reason for the piano up on the riser was so it could be, in the center focus of the horn. The horn is very directional. That's recording a full band next door. The recording medium we're going to use for our recreation is this format. It's known as brown wax cylinders. These were the format available during the 1890s and up until 1902 when they switched to the molded cylinder. These are all individually cut. So with the brown wax, you create a master, and then you would cut the duplicates on a machine like this. The master would go on one side of the machine, and then the other side would cut a duplicate copy. It was a slow, time-consuming process, so it was not very cost-effective. There's a photo of a duplicated machine. They call them pantographs. The cylinder I played, the original, is what's known as a gold molded cylinder. If you ever seen one of these old boxes, you see it says gold molded. And that was an important change because these were not molded. These are all individually cut. The molded cylinders were made from a mold, which helped to increase the sound quality and also bring down the price and made it more cost effective. That's a master molded cylinder. And then they would electroplate it in gold. That's why it's called gold molded. And then they'd make a negative mold. So that's the mold that they would pour the molten wax into to make a gold molded cylinder. And one more recording studio photo. This is a bit later when they're making a molded cylinder. That's trumpeter Edna White with a backup band. And if you look closely, you'll see they're using 3 horns. And they're probably using a setup like this where it's a connector so you connect 2 horns to the machine. So we're just going to use 1 horn. This brown wax cylinder is new. It's a replica. There's a collector in Illinois that makes them up. He experimented and figured out the formula. The 2 machines are original. They're both from about 1908. All right.
Okay, let's see what we got.
All right, have you ever heard the term cut a record?
Mm-hmm.
That comes from this era of cutting on wax, cutting into wax. As Richard was playing his trumpet, he was vibrating the air molecules in the room, and some of those get funneled down the horn. The other end of the horn, there's a small, it's like a drum head, they called it a diaphragm, which shakes with the air molecules, and that attached to the other side of the diaphragm is a small knife that literally cuts into the record. And the shavings that you saw flying off were what they called swarf. And what I was doing was gently blowing the swarf out of the way so they didn't get stuck under the knife. The two machines they're very similar. The main distinction between a phonograph set up for recording and a phonograph for playback is the point, the stylus that touches the record. On the recording machine, it's a knife, so it cuts. And on the playback machine, it's a polished ball. So it's going to ride in the groove, not cut it, just run up and down the groove. Attached to the playback stylus is another diaphragm, like a drum head. So when the stylus is riding up and down the wave, the grooves, it shakes, and that disturbs these air molecules, and then that horn for playback acts like an acoustic amplifier.
He could hardly tell the difference between the live and the...
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Jerry, what were you doing while it was recording with those small instruments?
I was trying to move the swarf, the shavings out of the way.
Okay.
This is a little airbag to gently blow out of the way, and this is a little brush just to kind of break them up and push them out of the way.
Thank you.
But I'm thinking, we can fit more than this.
Yes.
How much more?
We can do a little bit more.
Sure.
No, I mean, do you know how much more space is in there?
Oh, how much was left?
No, I know. If we do one more, then how much more we can add this thing?
Let's do the melody with secret, and then add the cajon, where I originally had said.
But you are doing this and then right here.
What's the total time on a cylinder that you can play?
Well, see, that's what we're trying. That's what we're trying to figure out, and that was the dilemma back then.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I did want to emphasize was the difference between the published version, which I played for you, and what we can do with the recording. Now, obviously, we left out quite a bit. In fact, I forgot to do the melody and the secret. So we have to put that in for now. So I'm going to do the cadenza part, and then we'll have the secret, and then the coda. And let's see if that fits in.
Because what, it used to be 2 minutes and 40 seconds or something? I think that's...
Yeah, but it also depends on the tempo and the artist, how much time he takes in between the phrases. So let's see what I do.
The way I have this machine set up and the cylinders I'm using hold about 2 minutes 40 seconds, 45 seconds. So we're going to do one more take. Okay.
Did it hit?
I think it ran a bit over. We'll hear it.
Well, I'll tell you, today's techniques, you know, you make a little mistake here and there, you can punch it out, and you know, when they did it, I mean, what was it, up into the 50s, if I'm right, you know, they had live recordings that you couldn't do anything with, and then technology today, it's just, wow.
It's nothing real.
Well, thanks for sure.
Well,
Hope everybody enjoyed that.
yes. Well, thank you so much. I mean, for us, this was a tremendous experience. We're so happy to have shared it with you. I'd like to thank Jerry. I'd like to thank the friends of Edison. Also, I'd like to thank Lilia for the accompanist, and of course, again, most of all, you. Thank you again.